So we can start now.
Okay, thank you, Chief Akshay. Thank you very much. Friends and colleagues, भाइयों बहनों दोस्तों,
TTG, your volume is not, I am not at least able to hear him. Can others hear?
It's very low.
Yeah,
now I don't know what to do then. Now,
marginally better.
just a minute, just a minute, just a minute.
You may be too far from the mic, I think.
Is now? Now?
Not better.
Okay, fine. So friends and colleagues, welcome to the first event, the first webinar of the six-part new webinar series that intends examining working of the Bangalore Municipal Corporation through a new political outfit called Bangalore Nirman Party. As a matter of fact, I'm very delighted because I, as a Gujarati, has a quite good connection with the word Nirman. You know why I'm saying that. The first part is this: we are grateful to BNP and its founder and General Secretary, Srikanth Narasimhan, for agreeing to partnering with INHAF for this series. It's going to demand time, energy, and effort from the organization. And in putting this together, and therefore BNP deserves our grateful thanks. The first episode is titled Introduction to Area Sabhas, and the entire series is called CAT, C-A-T, Municipal Governance, and CAT stands for Citizen Participation, Accountability, and Transparency. These are words we have heard a lot, I think, in the last couple of years, and we are going to kind of see its application, how it works on the ground in the coming 6 webinars. So thank you very much, Narasimhan sir. As you know, INHAF has been running this webinar series called Rethinking City, and this one is its 106th event, 106th event. The Rethinking webinar series is going on almost for 3 years, and we have covered some 50 odd urban themes and sub-themes. We also have some 500 urban experts, specialists, professionals, and even community groups sharing their work, sharing their experiences, sharing their views, and sharing their perspectives on multiple aspects of urban growth, planning, and development. And we want to making the cities more livable, inclusive, which means city that cares for and is open to everyone, a people-friendly city and sustainable city. So this is the kind of objective and goal with which we have been running this webinar series. We want sustainable, people-friendly, inclusive cities. We're very much interested in this 6-part series as it is going to give us a different dimension of our cities, a micro as against a macro perspective, a bottom-up view of the city as it functions, as it grows, as it develops, and as it tries to meet people's aspirations and people's needs. I'm told, and I very much believe so, that is why I'm very excited. BNP, that is Bangalore Nirman Party, is a unique development. It is the only party, only political party in the country exclusively focused on the municipal government. The third tier of city government after the state government and the national government, the central government. We consider it an important development as urban governance is emerging as a major challenge. In fact, urbanizing India and institutional issues, their adequacies, their relevance, and their efficacy is much needed to be questioned and understood. This episode is devoted to introducing Ward Sabha. I don't know how many remember that institutionalization of Area Sabha is part of the constitutional amendment, 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment that created a constitutional status for the local bodies. It is in some way a tragedy of sort that almost 30 years after the constitutional amendment, and despite very weak local bodies financially, structurally, politically, and institutionally, we have done little to change things at the municipal level. India's urban challenge is multi-sided and multidimensional. And governance reforms and governance changes are most critical. We want to use next 6 weeks and next 6 episodes of the webinar series to understand what it is, how it works, and what is to change. So the case study of Bangalore Municipal Corporation, as narrated by its young, by its idealistic and people-centric Bangalore Navnirman Party. It's a new hope for the first growing cities, and we look forward to BNP's narrative over the period of 6 webinars. So thank you very much, Srikanth Saab. Thank you, Sowmya ji. Thank you, everyone. And I'm very glad. I'm deliberately not mentioning the first webinar we did some time back, because in looking at this composite 6-part webinar series that we are going to unbundle the entire aspects of city governance through your example, through your learning, through your people, and through your networks. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I now hand over to the moderator, and especially look forward to hear you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kirtiji. That was a comprehensive introduction. Good evening to all panelists and attendees. I would like to invite Kathyayini ma'am for the first discussion. Her organization has been instrumental in pushing for the implementation of the 74th Constitutional Amendment. But there is no mention of Area Sabhas itself in that amendment. So would you explain how that notion came about?
Yeah, I have a present. Good evening, everyone. Thanks to BNP for giving me this opportunity. I have a few slides which will explain what you asked me just now. So I'll start sharing my screen so that I don't run out of time. I'll try to do it as fast as possible. So I hope you all can see it.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it now. Yeah.
I hope I can go to the slide share. Oh.
You can If you press on that little projector at the bottom, it should open the screen up. Or you can also click on the slide itself, second slide.
This black bar is blocking my thing
Oh,
to
Ma'am, you can
click on the
minimize
slide
it.
share. Huh?
You can minimize the Zoom box.
This one, this black thing? Oh,
Yes.
yes. Thank you. We are not so technically savvy. Okay. Now it should be better. Can you see it now?
yes,
The slide? Okay.
that's right. Go ahead. Yeah.
So, thanks very much once again. Why is the screen not? Okay. All of you know that for the main 30 and the main objective was to give to people every vote, and its function was for social justice. The teacher was of all participation, but what relax the
May I suggest that you switch off your video? I think there is some internet issue at your end. If you switch off video, you might be able to gain some time. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not able to see that.
Ma'am, I have
not
stopped it for you. Video.
You have stopped my video?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so because urban development is a state subject, the manner of constituting the ward committees was left to the state. And so the Karnataka Municipal Corporation Act, which was in existence at that time, was amended to bring it in conformity with the 74th Amendment. So we had a very prominent role in that, but we conducted the first stakeholders meeting to provide citizen inputs to the government on how to bring the conformity legislation. And we were the first to say that every ward should have a ward committee, and the ward should be subdivided into smaller areas, and a representative of each area should be selected by the people themselves. And we said the area representative should be made automatically the members of the ward committee. But our suggestions were not accepted. And in comparison to the Karnataka Panchayat Raj Act, which was brought in to bring conformity with the 73rd Amendment, we found a lot of difference. Like in the Gram Panchayat, every representative is elected by the voters. There are 2 mandatory Gram Sabhas per year, and the planning happens through the Gram Sabha, and the village works are painted on a board so that people know what is being done. And the Jamabandi program said that there will be sharing of accounts with the Gram Sabha every year. And the social audit also was could to be done by the Gram Sabha, that is the citizenry. But compared to that, in the KMC Amendment Act, which was brought in, the ward committees were nominated, not elected. There was no provision for ward sabhas. There was no provision for planning by the citizens. There was no transparency and no sharing of ward level accounts, and no social audit by the citizens. So these points were conveyed by us to the Union Ministry, these gaps, through our study of the ward committees that we did in 2002. Okay, so as a result, I think the model Nagar Raj bill was sent to all the states by the Ministry of Urban Development, and said that this was a conditionality under the JNNURM, and they recommended, similar to what we had recommended, that there should be area sabhas for up to 3,000 voters on the lines of the Gram Sabha, and an area sabha representative should be directly elected by the voters of the area sabha, like the Gram Panchayat members, and the ASR, area sabha representative, should be automatically a member of the ward committee, and there should be 1 ward committee per ward. And to comply with the model Nagar Raj bill recommendations, the KMC Act was amended in 2011 again to make it comply with these new provisions. And I'll just tell you, the KMC Amendment Act of 2011 did say there should be 1 ward committee per ward. and that the 10 ward members were to be again nominated by the corporation and not elected. And what is an area as per the KMC Act? Each ward is subdivided into areas. And how is the area to be determined? The law says 2 or more contiguous polling station areas within a ward, not exceeding 5 polling booth areas, to be declared as an area by the state government. That means about 5,000 to 6,000 voters will constitute the area, and the area Sabha is the body of all registered voters of the area. So they are to assemble, and this area Sabha is parallel to the institution of Gram Sabha, and it enables every voter to participate in the governance of his area. So this was quite progressive, but there were still many inadequacies. I'll come to that later. They were to meet at least once in 3 months, and the decisions were to be taken by consensus, if not by majority. And they were supposed to do all these functions, which said they shall do these. That is, generate proposals for schemes for their area and get it approved by the board committee, and identify eligible persons for beneficiary-oriented schemes and so on, and get information from officials on the services they will render and the works proposed to be executed in the area. And also seek follow-up action so that there is accountability and transparency at the area Sabha level. And that this was to be demanded from the ward committee on the decisions concerning the area. And also, in addition, they were supposed to do these functions, and it said they shall identify the deficiencies in the water supply and so on. And I will not go into the details. So all this was supposed to be made the components of the ward plan. And I will go next. So, but right now, inequality before law, but let me tell that though this law was passed in 2011, it has hardly been implemented as far as the area sabhas are concerned. Even in Bengaluru, BBMP has not notified the areas, and we still do not have area sabhas or area sabha representatives. Now, Civic has been working in some other cities, and we, through a court order, we have been able to get the first area sabhas constituted in Mangaluru. And the same thing has been tried in all other municipal corporations of Karnataka. But right now, as in BBMP, no election has taken place for 3 years. We are not able to proceed with either the ward committees or the area sabhas. Now, I'll just tell you how inequality before law has been created between citizens of bigger and smaller cities in Karnataka. In violation of Article 14, because the citizens of BBMP under the BBMP Act and the citizens of other municipal corporations other than the BBMP, and they come under the KMC Amendment Act, and the citizens of other smaller cities under the Karnataka Municipalities Act. Now, all of them have totally different methods of selecting ward committee members and area sabha representatives, and in defining the areas. All the three have different provisions. So we have filed a PIL in the High Court again, questioning this inequality before law, because it's making unequal provisions for the same urban citizens. So how is the mode of selection of the area sabha representative different in all the cities as per these acts? In the BBMP Act, it says the area sabha representative shall be nominated by the zonal committees. But in the KMC Amendment Act of 2011, as I already told you, he is a voter of the area nominated by the councillor who presides over the area sabha meetings. And if councillor fails to nominate the area sabha representative within 90 days, the commissioner is supposed to nominate them. That is in the KMC Act, which applies to all other municipal corporations other than Bengaluru now. And in Bengaluru, we have a separate act. And in the Municipalities Act of 2020, it's an amendment act. It has a more democratic and transparent system, which we have been asking for, actually. and the area Sabha representatives are selected by the voters themselves in this Amendment Act. So we are questioning this in the PIL, and also the area Sabha representatives have been given different roles in each of these acts. So in the KMC Act, it says the area Sabha representative has absolutely no role in the ward committee. He or she only presides over the area Sabha meetings. In the BBMP Act, it says, yes, the ASRs are invitees to the meetings of the ward committee, but they do not have the right to vote in them. Then in the KMC Municipalities Act that I mentioned, that is also of 2020, the ASRs are the members of the ward committee and they have voting rights. So all this inequality. So our main prayer in the PIL is the framework of the Karnataka Municipalities Act for the smaller cities is so very democratic and participatory that we want that framework to be adopted for BBMP and all other municipal corporations, and also bring effective citizen participation by bringing equality before law. And one more thing that the Municipalities Act for the smaller cities says is that there shall be even a neighborhood group for every 100 voters. I mean, for a smaller city, that may be okay. I'll come to that. And it says the neighborhood group representative shall be selected by the members by lot from the available eligible members. And he becomes a member of the area Sabha. And we welcome the idea of the formation of neighborhood groups in BBMP and other municipal corporations. But I don't know if that number should be restricted to just 100 voters, because in BBMP we have more than 1.2 crore people. So that number may be more, that is possible. And also we are supporting the idea of a neighborhood group, but the ASRs being selected by the members by lot or lottery, that we are not accepting. We want the neighborhood group representative and the area Sabha representative to be elected by the neighborhood group by a show of hands. And we want the ASR and ward committee members to be non-political persons, as it has been specified in the Municipalities Act for smaller cities. And so in the bigger cities, we are saying 100 voters, maybe too small a number, that can be enhanced. And our prayer is that every polling booth area should be defined as the area, because right now in the BBMP Act and in the KMC Act for other municipal corporations, one area is consisting of up to 5 polling booth areas, which means 5,000 voters. So we are saying, as in the Municipalities Amendment Act for smaller cities, every polling station or polling booth area, which may have a maximum of 1,000 to 1,200 voters, should be defined as the area for constituting area Sabhas. So we are saying that should be the norm even for BBMP and all other municipal corporations. And I'm not going into anything else because of shortage of time. So if you have any questions, I can answer them. So I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I hope I have not overshot my time.
Thank you, Kathyayini ma'am. So in your view, this seems very comprehensive. Do you think there are still any loopholes in the concept? Is this self-sufficient and complete the way you have prayed in the petition and as it has been laid out by the Karnataka's laws?
Well, if we adopt what has been done for the smaller cities, it will be very good if they adopt that concept and bring equality before law and amend our BBMP Act as well as our KMC Act. Actually, we have pleaded for merging all the 3 laws and making a common law.
That makes sense.
Because why all this, and most of the BBMP Act is a cut and paste job of the KMC Act. And so it is just leading to, duplication of the clauses, lengthy clauses, and they make it into 100 pages. So if they merge all the laws will be common for all the, it will be common for all cities, only where you need special provisions for bigger cities or for the other municipal corporations, you can have special provisions included into the same common law. That is how it is in Kerala, where there's a common act. And there are special provisions for bigger cities.
I
That
see.
could be adopted, and that will make things much simpler and bring equality. Right
Okay.
now there's a total constitutional violation according to us. But the
Right.
thing is, the hearings have not been happening on our PIL since 2021. There was court has accepted our PIL and sent notice, but the government has not responded yet. So that's where it is. But I'm saying that the areas about the provisions, if they're implemented, they're pretty good. That the
Yes.
area voters will decide and plan for their area and also monitor the usage of the funds in their area. Those are very, and also making the officials accountable to the area Sabha. Those are very progressive provisions which, if implemented, will really bring governance right to the grassroots and bring transparency and accountability, which is totally missing. Even the existing provisions have not been implemented. So if they really make this real, it is really going to bring democracy of the people, by the people, for the people, which it is supposed to be in our country.
Thank you. That was a nice note to end on. We'll now move on to our next panelist, the founder of BNP, Srikanth. So, as a founder of this only city party, which is focused only on municipal governance, what are your views on the area Sabhas and your notions for implementing the same concept?
Well, thanks, Kirti Bhai, for organizing this session. Happy to be part of this. Thanks, Kathyayini, for joining this call and giving us your perspectives on area Sabhas. And I know that you have fought a lot for the implementation of the 74th Amendment. So we have to be thankful to you for ultimately bringing all these parliaments like Ward Committee and Area Sabha into the public eye. And thanks, Sowmya, for moderating this. So quickly, from my perspective, area Sabhas, while this concept has been around for many, many years, it's not been implemented by pretty much anybody, right? At any level. It's great to see that Mangalore is trying to do that, but I think there's still a long way to go. In Bangalore, there is not even any remote narrative to even think of implementing that. So as a founder of BNP, one of the first things that I've been very clear about is we want to be a party which is biased towards action. So one of the first things that I told our team also is that I don't want all these concepts to exist in theory or paper. I also don't want to wait for any of us to get elected as corporators before implementing it. So I said, let's go ahead and implement the concept. And for that, let's assume that each of us are corporators in our respective wards. If we were the corporator, what would we do? Yes, today we don't have the power or the resources in terms of money to implement that. But many of the civic issues do not need either power or money to be resolved. So I said, let's get going with the implementation of area Sabhas by playing the role of shadow corporators. And that's how many of our team members have now started constituting area Sabhas in their respective areas. And the concept is very simple from our side in terms of how we are implementing it. As Mrs. Kathyayini said, we break the ward down into areas. Typically, a ward will have about 35,000 voters or roughly about 50 to 60,000 citizens. So you'll roughly have about 15,000 households. So what we do is we typically break the ward down into 10 areas. Each area will have roughly about 1,500 households. And there is an interesting concept of neighborhood group that I saw in that. I didn't know of that concept, but what we are doing is we are having a concept called as a residential community. So we are breaking these 15,000 households into smaller residential communities comprising 100 houses, 200 houses, 300 houses. It could be an apartment complex with 200 flats. It could be a villa community with 300 houses. It could be a slum with 500 dwellings. It could be a layout of individual houses. So any logical agglomeration of anywhere between 50 to 500 houses, we take them as a residential community. So we'll typically have about, let's say, 10 residential communities in each area. It could be plus or minus, but roughly 10. So what we are doing is we are trying to identify, first of all, the residential communities, and we are reaching out to these residential communities. And from each of these residential communities, we are identifying 1, 2, or even 3 people to represent that residential community as an area Sabha member. And we are constituting these teams. And these teams, in turn, are raising issues on the ground. Because ultimately, there is nothing like issues that are raised from the ground by the local people, by local representatives, because they are the ones who suffer the most in terms of these issues impacting them. So they raise the issues, and we have created a system by which we are able to engage with officials. And in fact, there was an interesting statistic that was put out by our team last about a week back. During the month of January, through our area sabhas, multiple area sabhas that we have constituted across different parts of the city, more than 200 issues were raised. I think the precise number was 207. And guess what? We've been able to resolve close to 100 out of those. And to me, it gives great joy, great pleasure, and great pride to say that we've been able to do this. So, area sabhas is a concept, or area sabha as a concept, I didn't want it to be just remaining on paper. We have already implemented it in quite a few wards. We have lots of team members who are already part of it. And through them, we are raising more and more issues, solving them. And of course, once we have a corporator elected from BNP, the idea is to then get them involved in the whole process of determining what projects are to be done, recommending that to the ward committees, get our corporator to get those approved in the BBMP council, and subsequently the area sabhas playing an overseeing role in the implementation of the projects. So as BNP, as a city-only party, as a party that's focused on action, I'm very clear that we want to implement this concept, whether we are in power or not. It's a concept that we are committed to, and we are the first party in this country that's actually going ahead and implementing that. Back over to you, Sowmya.
Thanks for that innovative explanation and implementation. Do you think area sabhas can work without the cooperation of state government or even the MLAs? I see, you had sent me some slides. Maybe I should share them now if you wanted to. I'll go ahead and do that.
Absolutely. There's a misconception that MLAs and the state government will not allow an independent party to work, will not allow corporators to work, and without their cooperation, nothing can happen, etc. So I'll probably take a specific example right in front of my apartment complex. So I'll take that example to articulate how the MLAs have no role to play in municipal governance, and forget about they not being cooperating. Even if we have an MLA who is actively working against it, we can still solve for many problems. So I live in an apartment complex on Old Madras Road in CV Raman Nagar in Bengaluru. I stay in a place on Old Madras Road, which is a hazardous junction to cross. We had been crying hoarse for a skywalk to be implemented in front of our apartment for many, many years. Nothing happened. As fate would have it, on one fine day, I think in 2017, a 17-year-old girl who was crossing the road got run over by a bus and died on the spot. We were all really, really upset about it, very angry about it, because it was a disaster waiting to happen. Then again, we started going to the corporator, MLA. Nothing really happened. And finally, we did a protest. And magically, when a protest happens, magically a budget appears out of thin air. So a budget finally got approved for the skywalk. The work started on both sides of the road. And within a month or two, the work came to a grinding halt. Then we again ran from pillar to post to figure out what was happening. We just couldn't get any answers out of the corporator or the MLA. And finally, we went to the media. And the media covered an article on this Beniganahalli skywalk. And to our shock, in that media article, the corporator openly states that, the work was started because there was a need for the project, but now the work has been stopped because an influential politician wanted to discuss something with the contractor. On the left side of the screen, you actually are seeing a news article on this Beniganahalli skywalk. You'll not be able to read this, but it actually, in fact, any of you are interested, you can do a Google search on Beniganahalli skywalk. This Bangalore Mirror article will come up. Here is a corporator who's openly, shamelessly saying that the project has been stopped because a senior politician or an influential politician has stopped the project. And we all know that the influential politician was the MLA. And she, being from a particular party, she was given a ticket by the MLA. So she cannot do anything without the approval of that MLA. So the project didn't move forward. It got stuck for almost 1.5 years because the MLA refused to approve the project without getting a bribe. And interestingly, the contractor refused to pay a bribe. So the work was stuck there. One interesting thing that happened in 2020, the term of the BBMP council came to an end, which means the term of the corporator also came to an end. And nodal officers got appointed for each ward. In my ward, we had a wonderful official, a person by the name Randeep Dev, who was the solid waste management special commissioner at that time. He's an IAS officer. He took charge as a nodal officer of the ward. And we as citizens, we had constituted an area sabha by that time. So we went and we interacted with the nodal officer and we took up this issue. And he said, I can't approve a new budget, but I said the budget has already been approved. So then he wanted to know why it didn't go through, and I gave him the history. He laughed and he put me onto the chief engineer of road infrastructure, Mr. Prahlad, who in turn put me onto his team. And guess what? In 2 months flat, October 2020, we took up this issue. On the right side, you will see that December 2020, the skywalk was completed without a single rupee of bribe paid to the MLA because the MLA had no role to play in this. He was stopping the project because he was controlling the corporator, because he was the one who had given the ticket to that corporator to contest, and the corporator was not willing to do anything without listening to the MLA. And for us, the biggest learning was, if you have a set of committed citizens who are willing to take up issues, and if you're able to work together as a team, and we had constituted the area sabha, and the nodal officer was playing the role of the corporator and still is playing the role of the corporator. If you have a competent and a person with good integrity, along with area sabhas, along with the corporator, a lot of things can be done. So that was my practical experience where I was directly involved in getting this skywalk done. And it's not a small project, right? It's not just some garbage that's getting cleared up somewhere. It's a fairly big project, and a big project that was stalled deliberately by the MLA wanting a bribe to be paid. And the story had an interesting ending where we actually invited the MLA to come and inaugurate the project. He refused to do it because he didn't get a cut out of it. But then we didn't care. We didn't wait for his inauguration. We ensured that no other person dies by crossing the road at that junction. In fact, my daughter herself was going and attending her common law entrance coaching for 2 years. She used to cross the road with the skywalk, go and take the metro and go to her classes. I was able to breathe easily and allow her to go without having to worry about what's going to happen to her. So that's the power of area sabhas. That's the power of a practical example of citizens working together with the corporator or the equivalent of the corporator and getting things done. So that's my experience, Sowmya. Area sabhas can work. In fact, can work not just without the cooperation of MLAs or the state government. They can work despite MLAs working actively against them. That's my experience.
That's inspirational and funny too. I would like to invite our next panelist, Aparna Chandar. Aparna, your interests are in music and marketing. When would you say you started to pay attention to municipal matters? Please turn your video.
Good evening. Yeah, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but please turn your video on as well.
Yeah, it's on.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be part of this session. Okay, to answer your question, I started getting interested probably about 4 or 5 years ago, because after having lived in my community for more than a decade, I decided to give something back to my community. So I took up a position in the management committee. So while solving internal matters in the community, I also started paying attention to external matters. Our road. So we have a private road of about 200 meters that is just in front of our house. So in front of our apartment complex. So it leads to our community. So this was in really bad shape because of, lots of various diggings by various service providers. So this was probably the first time I paid attention to a municipal matter. I mean, obviously, I was also going through the experience of that road constantly. But that was the first time I paid attention in a way where I wanted to do something about it.
How long had this issue been a nuisance to your locality?
This was a nuisance for almost 2 years. So
Oh,
because
okay.
the management committee before me and even independent people from the community had tried to reach out to the BBMP guys, but it was of no use. So basically they were initially promising that they would fix it, in fact, multiple residents decided to call independently just to put pressure and all that, but nothing would happen. They would say they would fix it, and then eventually they'll just stop answering our calls.
So how did you, what steps did you take then? What did you do next?
So I tried contacting the assistant engineer of the BBMP multiple times. I took his number from the estate manager because I felt like, I was part of the management committee and I should do something about it. So I called him and he said, yes, we will fix it, all that. And then I would also follow up with photos and videos of the road. So initially he was responsive, but after some time he started ignoring my calls. And it would get really worse when it rained and stuff because it was like an accident waiting to happen. So and during rains it was really bad. So I was feeling extremely helpless. And this was the time that by chance I attended a meeting organized by BNP. So I got to know in this meeting that civic issues can be raised in person in a ward committee meeting. I didn't even know there was something called the ward committee meeting where issues could be raised. So, and that ward committee meetings happen every fortnight. So where, we could go with issues and the BBMP team would have to listen and resolve the issues. So I just decided to do that after that.
So you solved this single-handedly? You attended a meeting and then was the issue resolved?
Yes, it did get resolved. So we,
Did you go by yourself or did you have anybody else's support?
No, not by myself because I tried myself, right? And nothing happened. Like I thought initially that I could resolve it myself. So I constantly, every day I was calling, I was sending photos and videos on WhatsApp, but nothing happened. So after going to this BMP meeting and figuring out that there was actually a process, a way to get it sorted, I got a few people interested in our community. So I said, let's just go to the ward committee meeting. And since people were also very frustrated because we had tried all kinds of tactics, nothing had worked. So some 15-20 of my fellow residents joined me and we went to the ward committee meeting and we met the assistant engineer and we got him to sign an agreement stating that the work would begin in 15 days. Actually, even when we went, they were like hesitant and they were like, oh, this is happening, that's happening, some excuse, but I think the pressure was there because we were so many of us. It was not one or two persons, right? So it was a whole lot of people just barging in. So they signed it and actually the work began soon after and the road was ready in no time. So this actually was a big eye opener for all of us that, we had finally figured out a way to get things done. So we just needed to come together and solve the problem. So actually this motivated me so much that I took up an active role of being an area Sabha member of the BNP.
That's a nice narrative. So glad to hear that.
Thank you.
We'll go on to the next panelist. Poongothai, how long have you been a member of BNP? Is everyone able to see my screen? Yeah, how long have you been a member of BNP?
Good evening, all. It's a great opportunity for me to have a great chat with you guys in today's evening. With BNP, I'm there almost like 4 years now.
Oh, that's a seasoned.
Yeah, I came to know about BNP in 2020, towards the end of November, and I was going through the BNP website. I read about the ward level project details, which was published in the BNP website. Then I found these are very helpful for the issue I was working on. Then I connected with the BNP team and became a member immediately, somewhere in November 2020.
So did you feel any issue of, helplessness when you faced with these issues? Or did you have any plan with collaborating with people and getting on with the resolution?
Being a civic warrior, like I come across a lot of different civic issues faced by the citizens of our city. Even
So
in
would
the
you like me to share one of the slides you have sent me?
yeah, please.
Yeah, right. So what exactly happened in this sequence that you have shown here?
Ma'am, please share the screen. We are not able
I
to.
did. Oh, you're not able to see. I thought
Yeah. Actually, during my walks, I found quite few black spots in our ward, and then I was connecting with my like-minded citizens and formed area sabha in our ward, and we worked together as a team. We raised these civic issues in the ward committee meeting. Then, with support of area sabha members, and we continuously engage with BBMP, junior health inspectors, supervisors. Then we created some awareness programs. We also keep pushing BBMP to get the area cleaned and streamlined. And these are few slides where we can see like it's a black spot, and we colored it. The walls were painted, clean up the area. And now
So when did
today
this work happen? When did you clean up the spot?
this is in 2022.
So in 2 years, you've managed to instill enough awareness so that it's still not a black spot again.
Yes, yes. So today I just visited the place and took the pictures.
Okay, that's nice. It's live and fresh, so to speak. And what is the story of this black spot?
This is a black spot where the garbage vehicle transport happens from the smaller trucks to the bigger compartments. And we were against it, and we requested the team, because it's a main road where the movement of vehicles were large and smells very bad. So it was transformed by putting rangoli over there. Then the team painted. So it's good now. So
and it's still maintained well.
Yes.
There is the transfer station is moved elsewhere. What about this?
This is another black spots. Like one end of the road, there is an apartment where the children come out for the school bus boarding. And this complete stretch is with of garbage. Where the other side, there was a low-level houses, and the garbage vehicle was not regular, and people used to throw the garbages. Then it was transformed. Then the next thing you can see, it was painted, and the team was worked closely to keep it and check on it. And the other picture is taken up today. We are like, this incident was carried out in 21.
Okay.
So we took it in the ward committee meeting, and multiple discussion happened. And almost it took like 3-4 months to come to this stage. And now, it's pretty better.
Yeah, it still seems to be holding up. That's really commendable. You had one more success story. Did you transform any of these spots into something else other than?
This is another black spot where it became a nursery now. Like the team tried to clean up the garbage regularly, but still it was not an end to it.
Okay.
Then we got an opportunity to set up a nursery at that place. Then it was like transformed. It's very good. Then this picture also taken today. And the other location, the same, that wall you have seen, which was painted, there we can see some stalls were put up. As soon we painted, then we have got some tender coconut stall, and there is a lady with stitching. All those stuffs were fixed. So these are the ways where can be like once we transform, it can be maintained in a long run.
So how many team members would you say worked with you on this?
Actually, these locations are from different areas of our groups. It's not
right. That's great. So you had a cross-area collaboration.
Yeah, it's across area, and multiple areas of our groups worked for it, and they regularly monitor. And we have a WhatsApp group with the BBMP Solid Waste Management team. If any issue, they'll be posting on that.
So now they resolve your issues quickly.
In the most of the cases it gets solved, and still there are some black spots. We'll be continuous working on it.
Thank you, Poongothai.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our last panelist, Lalithamba. Lalithamba is also the campaign lead at Bangalore Navanirbhan Party. would you like us to join you on a journey of how you converted and reclaimed footpaths, whole lakes, etc.? This is a very picture intense presentation that she shared with me. Lalita, I'm going to start screen sharing now.
Yeah. Can you share it as a larger one? As
Yes.
a presentation?
Sure.
That'd be great. Yeah.
This is a big story, so it needs a large screen. Go ahead.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಶುಭ ಸಂಜೆ and good evening everyone. First of all, thanks for providing me this opportunity to even come and speak about this. I remember BNP was formed in 2019, but in 2020 we had a great energy, and I distinctly remember that BNP was promoting the importance of citizen participation at the local levels. We may call it area Sabhas then as well. And at that time, the energy among our citizens was very high. So we, the residents in HSR and specific to 24th Main area, we united and worked with the BBMP team to transform an unusable footpath of about 300-350 meters to making it a usable and a walkable one. Along the side, we citizens understood. I didn't even know many of these people, right? I was staying in this area, and this footpath was also about 14 years, it was unused. And it is adjacent to a KPTCL wall. Opposite side, there are multiple apartments in that row. It's a main road of 24th Main, etc. But I didn't have any connect with that team. So the power of citizen participation and area sabhas is one classic example here. So we went, there was a lot of Parthenium that used to cover every monsoon, and nobody bothered, and there were a lot of trees underneath. We could find everything else, people urinating on the wall and all this. So it all started with this citizen activism. We said, I don't know, I remember distinctly me and another friend, Kamesh and Venkatesh, all of us just went and started plucking the Parthenium. I don't know, every apartment that was right opposite to that footpath started joining. We said, okay, for today it is enough, tomorrow it's enough. And this journey, it went on for 4 weeks. And I think it was around that COVID time itself, people were working from home and a lot of things. And from day 1 and 2, I think we also got the contacts of BBMP and we started working. It was not only removing the Parthenium, etc., but working with them, pruning the outgrown branches. And there was so much bed. I remember it was also raining in that December 2020. We started this activity somewhere December 3rd, and 30th or 31st, we actually celebrated this as well. So we understood the process of working with various agencies like BBMP, and you can also see the traffic team around there. There were a lot of unused vehicles, which I will talk about, right? Traffic, BBMP street lights, etc. So alongside, we also, the transformation was done in about 4 weeks' time. And we also installed 2 to 3 exercise equipment you see there. Today also it is there and people use it. It just gives them that space. And we also installed a few benches, I think 3 or 4 we had. And people do sit and relax because it's a long stretch of footpath. They still rest there, right? So we also celebrated this moment. And at that time, BBMP Special Commissioner was Mr. Randeep, which Srikanth mentioned. We invited him. He was so happy to see this particular transformation. And you see the left says before and the right one says after, right? That was the transformation that we used. Idea was to clean it up, make it usable and walkable. Simple as that, right? It was an eye-opening event that actually happened in 2020 December. And along with that, we also conducted an awareness campaign regarding pet poop on the road. We did it for 2 days, and we started encouraging people to carry poop picker whenever they step out so that our roads are clean. I see the one after the next day in that picture, that person actually got the poop picker. I'm sure that message, whoever it reaches, I think they will also become responsible and help us in keeping our areas clean. Yeah. Moving on next. With the same energy that we had, we extended our activity next to the 27th cross in HSR layout. This time it was, this road as well has multiple
apartment complexes, I think 12 or 13 communities, etc. And this time it was to beautify the entire street and the wall that we see. Citizens again unitedly, here as well, I didn't know many people at all. One or here and there I knew, but the energy that we used to have, this again was about a 4-week activity that we had. BBMP team came, enormous support that we got. You see on the left-hand side how it was before. Alongside, we also, see, this was, I think, day 2. On the right-hand side, you see citizens sitting. It was day 2, I believe, where we all sat and took a picture. And we culminated that entire, this one, and the wall was painted, as you see, and it looks good today as well. It is as is. And I call proudly this road as Wall of 27 because it's 27th cross. That's the nickname I have given. So 4 weeks of efforts, it was culminated by celebrating Republic Day function together. Otherwise, communities celebrate these national festivals on their own, in their own communities. But this event actually got everybody together. I remember standing for the national anthem that we sang, etc. High energy was in the air. In all this process, what I also we worked with BBMP streetlights team, because there were so many dark spots. We got few streetlights installed, and also few vehicles, specifically on 27th cross. There were few vehicles which were abandoned for more than a year or 2. And when we called people, right, we said, okay, we divided the task. Okay, few of these people will follow up on finding the owner along with the help of the traffic police and law and order, etc. Can you believe within a week's time we were able to trace the owners, and either they took, or at that time towing was there, they towed those vehicles. So this was one more classic example. As we speak, that entire area, that road has an area Sabha. Right? It has united the citizens, and the power of area Sabha is excellent. Moving on, third one that I would like to highlight is the making of an urban forest called Sundaravana. It was also in the beginning of February 2021. The energy with the examples and energy that we had with citizen participation, I think we had learnt a lot. 4 acres of Somsundarpalya lake was being used by the adjacent compost plant, which is also called as KCDC. And a lot of waste was being dumped. You can see the picture there. That is the lake land, 4 acres. And many of our citizens of this area, we worked with official to get the mountains of plastic removed. So basically, we had heap of mountains that was to be reduced to ground zero. That is something, along with officials and the local MLAs, everybody worked and got it removed. The next was KCDC handed over that particular land to the lakes team. That was the start where we said, okay, with the experience of the earlier examples that we have cited, citizens, we as citizens were determined to transform this plastic land into an urban forest. We really wanted to see a lot of greenery around. So we worked, first thing was we worked with the SWM team to get as much plastic removed from the land. Sowmya, can you go back to the previous screen? You will see that citizens were working, and see, these were the plastic land. There was BBMP team, etc. working, and untiring efforts of about 180 days. We started plantation. We didn't, because the more and more we started digging in this area where there was plastic, 10 feet down, there was plastic. So we started working. Our own motto was to make it greener. So, but as we moved along, after 5-6 months of effort, we also realized that we needed an organization which could help us in planting and managing in such larger areas. And you see in the previous slide, Sowmya, we had made a postcard and we said, we meet every day at 7:30. That was the standard, this one. When do we meet? Every day we meet on the top. And next, if you go, people would come, we would do some work, but it was join us every day in the making of urban forest, that is Sundaravana. So finally, the citizen organization we had was Community Task Force, and HSR Rotary worked with an organization which helped in creating the Miyawaki forest. Thousands today, then in 2022, sometime in February, March, thousands of saplings of various native species were planted. And it's been now 2 years, and each of them have grown at few feet taller, at least 10 feet, 20 feet, etc., depending on this one, right? So this is a view, and this is where I'm so proud to say, and as part of our team, Sundaravana dream comes true. Whenever you visit HSR, please do come to Somasundarapalya Lake and see our Sundaravana. And together we also celebrate various occasions like Sankranti, Deepavali, and other festivals. We have created small spots called Tapovana, where we can actually, it's a bamboo, a lush bamboo green area there. So you can sit and relax in the morning. Then we have created Kutira, a small place where you can sit and rest. So small things that we all have done together. I think the citizen participation and energy is at high. And I think area sabhas do play a very important role in all this. Thank you so much.
That was a very striking example of the number of people, the sheer number of people you seem to have moved is amazing and unbelievable. So, Srikanth, would you summarize some key takeaways maybe on how citizen involvement can now transform neighborhoods?
In a way, I think the stories spoke for themselves, I would think.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Right?
True, but
See, when I started BNP, for me, the vision was very simple. The dream was very simple. I'm here looking to make Bengaluru the best city in the world. That is not my vision, my dream. It's actually Nadaprabhu Kempegowda's vision and dream, the founder of Bengaluru. Somewhere we lost our way completely. Somewhere corruption took over, incompetence took over, inefficiency took over, apathy took over, indifference took over. And today, I don't know about other cities, but Bengaluru is in a terrible, terrible shape. And for me, the only way to bring about change is by involving citizens. Of course, we have to be in power. I got this registered as a political party, and we want to contest elections because a fundamental change can be brought about, I would say, only by being in power. But that alone will not be enough. In fact, every now and then when I see the High Court of Karnataka issuing an order to BBMP, asking them to give a status report on all the potholes and asking them to fix everything, I actually, in a way, I don't know whether to laugh or to cry. Bengaluru has 14,000 kilometers of roads. Assuming that we even deploy 1,000 officials, if we deploy, each one has to manage 14 kilometers of roads. These guys will take years and years together to even figure out where the potholes are and how to fix them. So I don't even know what I might be taken to task for contempt of court or whatever, but I'm saying, I don't know what the High Court is thinking. And BBMP every time gives promises to the High Court saying that, yeah, we will set right all the potholes. How is it possible? The only way it can be sorted out is citizens of the city in their respective localities take the responsibility for their own locality. And if we start identifying more and more people from the local residential communities, involve them in the process, all of these examples that you are seeing, right? None of them were in politics or none of them were involved in issues at this magnitude. But the moment people come together, people know that something can be done. My objective is to bring people together and for making our city better, our localities beautiful, to get things done. Area Sabha as a concept, I'm not, waiting to get into power. I'm not a believer that, if the system hasn't worked in the past, it will never work. We have to start somewhere. I started small in 2019. Today, there's a huge army of citizens that I've been able to build. Every time I see these visuals, I see the team talking about the work they have done, it gives me goosebumps. It shows me every passing day that if we as citizens come together under this political umbrella, under the concept of area sabhas, and we are able to do this together, I'm very confident that in the not too distant future, we'll be able to make Bengaluru the best city in the world. So that's my dream, that's my vision, or rather the vision of Nadaprabhu Kempegowda that I want to implement along with the rest of the team, bringing everybody together. today we have area sabhas in probably about 20 wards or so, right? There are 225 wards in Bengaluru. So 20-25 wards is a small step, but I think it's a very important step. I would think that, I would like to take the quote of Neil Armstrong when he stepped on the moon. A small step for man, a giant leap for humankind. I would say it's a small step taken by BNP, but I think it's a huge step, a huge leap in municipal governance that we are taking. And watch out for more. We are here to stay. We are here for the long run. We are here with the simple mission of making Bengaluru the best city in the world through the concept of area sabhas.
Thanks, Srikanth. Perhaps we can take a few questions. I can see some on the Q&A box. I might read them out now. So Vishnu Reddy is asking, what does nominated by corporation mean? And he didn't understand that. I assume Kathyayini ma'am can answer this.
Yeah, that's a good question. We have been asking that of the corporation also. What does it mean? Does it mean the commissioner? Does it mean the council? Or does
Yeah.
it mean the councillor, of the individual ward? So there's no clarity at all. That's why we've been in our PIL, we have actually asked for guidelines to be issued about how the ward committee member is to be nominated, how the area sabha representative is to be nominated. They were, of course, asked for the legal changes, but in the interim, when everybody is supposed to be nominated, we are saying, please follow these guidelines. And surprisingly, in all the smaller cities, in the other municipal corporations where we are working, all the commissioners have accepted the draft guidelines that we have given to them, saying that public advertisement should be issued in the newspapers and ask citizens to apply to become ward committee members or even area sabha representatives. And that seems to be working in all the other cities except Bangalore.
Where it was
So they have actually called for advertisements. They have issued advertisements and taken a lot of applications from citizens. And in Mangaluru, they have formed the ward committees based on those applications from citizens. So finally, of course, it will be approved by the commissioner or the council. But we are quoting the rules applying to the commissioner, saying that if the law particularly does not say that he should take the approval of the council for any implementation of a law, then he is the sole authority to implement that law. And he has full powers as commissioner, though of course it is a colonial relic, which we are also opposing. Executive should have better power. But anyway, right now the law is in our favor in the sense that it disallows councillors to nominate, which was a practice. And we are asking that it should be the commissioner who nominates through the democratic process of calling for advertisements and applications from citizens. Yeah, sorry, I took a long time.
So I think there's a related question. So who might be the head of an area sabha, Kamesh is asking. And if there's a decision taken for consensus, but somebody needs to take a stand, if there's conflict, for example, how is that person likely to be chosen?
Yeah, right now in the KMC Act, it said that the councillor will nominate. For the area sabha representative, it is there in the law. And for the BBMP Act, it says zonal committee will nominate. So they are asking that the voters in the area sabha should nominate or should select or elect the area sabha representative so that it is truly democratic, like in the Gram Panchayat, which I mentioned earlier. Yeah.
So no, I think his question is slightly different. If there's a conflict between two ASR's representations, then should there be a head that will overrule? And if so, how would you choose that person?
Who is a kind of head of it? So there will be only a single area sabha representative.
Right.
And the voters have to decide and come to a consensus or take a majority vote. So, the area sabha is the building block for democracy.
Correct.
Where they learn to discuss among themselves, come to a consensus, respect other people's opinions and decide what is public good. and it should not be the good of a majority or the good of the elite or the more powerful people in the ward. We have to learn to make the area Sabha a democratic space where we decide what is in public interest, and that may not always be the decision of the majority.
Majority, yes.
If there is
Sometimes.
a slum and they want the majority or the elite in the ward want the slum to be evicted, you cannot make that a majority decision saying this is what the majority wants. You
That's
have to
right.
go by certain principles
In the
and
constitution.
go by what is in the best interest of all the citizens and not
Right.
just your own clique or coterie. So I hope that answers.
So
Actually,
this is
Sowmya,
this.
I have a slightly
Yeah.
different view to it.
Okay.
Very often we get caught up in all these terminologies, we get caught up in all these nuances and technicalities. Look at what we've been doing in BNP, right? Currently, there is no clarity in terms of who nominates and all of that, right? It's not been a stumbling block for us to involve citizens and move forward, right? I think my fundamental principle is if there is a good person at the helm of affairs, a bad law would not be a detriment. And conversely, if there's a bad person at the helm, no matter how you eliminate conflicts and you make it very clearly defined, etc., that guy is going to put his own coterie and, in a way, make the system work in his or her favor, right? So for us, the concept of area sabhas in terms of involving citizens, working together, taking up issues that impact us at the grassroots level, putting a system and process in place to engage with the system and the officials is far, far more important than the technicalities and the nuances. I can tell you this much, for the next 20-25 years, these conflicts are going to continue. We'll all keep crying hoarse over all the amendments. And I'm not saying that we should not do it. We should do it, but we don't want to wait for any of that. And I have never found that to be a stumbling block in getting anything done. And imagine tomorrow, even if people play foul, etc., all it takes for the councillor to engage informally with all these area sabhas, take their views, take the projects, and get those projects approved in the council, right? That's how the process works. Only thing is today, the councillor works in his or her interest or in his or her party's interest. If you have a competent person, and that's what we are hoping to do in the upcoming BBMP election, things can be very different. So I think I wanted to leave that perspective because I've seen many people get caught up in all of these technicalities. We will work, separately. People like Kathyayini are working towards making that system a lot more efficient. But the judicial process, the political process takes a lot of time. It should not be a constraint. It will not be a constraint. It need not be a constraint. We are able to overcome that and keep working towards implementing all these concepts, not on paper, on the ground.
Thanks, Srikanth. That may also be because there are so many unresolved issues right now. So I think we've not reached this position of conflict yet. So there's so much to do that everybody will be kept busy for some time is another way of looking at it, I guess. There's also another related question on which I should have asked earlier. So Joy Ganguly is asking, is there anything in these acts that is Karnataka specific? And do they cut across state boundaries? Or are these laws common?
No, all these laws are specific to Karnataka, and the other states may be having completely different provisions because the power to make the state laws has been given only to the state governments, and the other states may be forming the laws in a completely different way. But these are state specific. There's one more question from Vishnu Reddy. I think I had missed seeing that. If the ASRs have no right to vote, does that mean the corporator is the single decision maker? No. If the ASRs have no right to vote, I mean, we are contesting that they should have a right to vote because they are representing their area. But there are also 10 other nominated ward committee members who represent SC, STs, that is in the Karnataka law, that there shall be 10 nominated members. 2 of them are SC, STs, 3 are women, and 2 are from resident associations and so on. So there are 10 others on the ward committee who can influence the decision. And in fact, in the KMC Act, it says the corporator has a veto power. But in the BBMP Act, that has been removed.
Right.
The corporator doesn't have the veto power. But but the funny thing is, in the BBMP Act, though they have removed the veto power, they are saying the ward committee is only a recommendatory body. So they are nullifying the entire concept of citizen participation by making us just, who are supplicants, requesting something, but we have no power to take the decisions ourselves. So all these imbalances are there in the law, which we are trying to get it resolved or removed through the PIL that we have filed, so that the actual citizens get the right to make decisions, and that the councillor has to follow the majority decision or the public good decision that I spoke about, and he cannot be a an autocrat who has veto power or imposes his decisions on the community.
That's right. There's one more question from Joy, which I think the entire content of the presentation answered, but I'll ask it anyway. What are some methods or avenues through which shadow corporators engage with the municipalities? I think we just saw some stellar examples of how they did, but Srikanth, you may want to take that as a summary.
Yeah, I think ultimately there is no.
Sorry, you're audible, but there is some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, ultimately there's no rocket science to this. We think that the system is very complicated. We think that it's very difficult to engage with the system, with the officials. It's actually not that at all. Yes, the politicians, the officials try to make it complicated. They try to make it sound very complicated, etc. But it's actually not that complicated at all. All that it takes is to know who the local officials are. The assistant engineer, assistant executive engineer, the health inspector, and so on, right? And also understand who the next level of authorities, departments, etc. are. And to solve for that problem, in BNP, I've created a full-fledged team, a full-time team, right? A paid team, which actually sits and engages with officials. So as citizens, what I've also seen is that in a way, people find it difficult to go on raise, follow up, and all of that. To solve for that problem, I've actually created a full-time team. So there are team members in BNP whose exclusive full daytime job, and we are paying them for that, is to take up the issues that are raised by citizens and engage with the relevant ward officials, follow through till it comes to a closure. And that's how we are solving a lot of problems. And as I said, we don't need to be in power for that. We don't need to, let's say, wait for anything else to happen. Of course, if you are in power, we can do a lot more. We can allocate budgets, projects, etc. But doing all these fundamental things, it's no rocket science. In a way, it's difficult to implement with lots of follow-ups and a lot of time that needs to be spent. And that's why I'm professionalizing that system where we don't depend on just volunteering mechanisms to get that done. Building it more like a professional setup.
I'd like to add to this. I think BNP has been very lucky that they have been actually doing all this good work that they have done when there are no corporators most of the time. From 2020 onwards, there are no corporators, and you have been able to work with officials only. So very often, the elected representatives are the hurdles. I can just relate to you what happened in Chandinagar, where I founded a residents welfare association, and we tried to have local composting and biomethanation units set up because we had hired rag pickers to collect garbage door to door, and we wanted them to be involved in biomethanation and local composting also in our ward. We were given land by the BBMP officials 3 times. Our association was given land. We signed MOUs with the corporation. We were given 1 lakh rupees. But each time when we went to implement it, the corporator or the MLA came in the way and prevented us from starting the local processing units. This is what happens when you have kind of sorry to that we are now. I just wanted bribes or commissions.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with Mrs. Kathyayini on that. I think very often it's the presence of the elected representative that creates a problem. The officials are all very happy to engage, collaborate, and so on. And anyway, that's why in BNP, yeah, absolutely. But that's where in BNP we want to solve for that problem by getting good citizens elected as corporators. When the election comes up, I'm hoping that we'll have quite a few BNP corporators elected. That will solve for that problem.
I would now like to
realize that.
thank you all. I would now like to hand over the session control to Kathy. Would you like to give a preview of the next session and maybe conclude this one? Chitrakshi, do you want to check if...
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity. This is a very exciting session. Maybe you want to give a preview to the next or close it in any other way you think fit. Thanks.
No, I think, as a matter of fact, I'm personally very delighted this is happening. And as we go along, and I think we deal with more and more issues and give more examples, it will become very clear in terms of how this whole thing works. But I think, whoever wants to kind of answer from the panel, I just have one or two questions which I thought I'd like to ask. One is this, that you talked about this CAT, the citizen participation, transparency, and accountability. And I think there are the ways in which you could interpret it. What I wanted to ask you was this, and it's also possible to kind of look upon this individual examples and success stories which were beautifully presented. The question that I wanted to ask you was this, that at this point of time, at this point of now, at this current situation, it appears that this is not happening. You are essentially, there is no official area sabha. There is no official list of members of area sabha. There is the formal mechanism, as it is called, is non-operational. Please, I'm asking this question, and please tell me if my assumption is right. I'm saying, so this is essentially as defined by law, as defined in the constitutional amendment. Those kind of things formally have not happened, and this is more or less a parallel process, a process in which you have not really kind of gone through formally. And that, as a matter of fact, I personally feel that's the charm of it. That is what is very beautiful. What I want to try and understand is this, that what are the, so what I'm saying is this, please, I think, my question is this, that if the formal system has not happened, and if this is working, if this is giving results, if this is delivering, is this a good thing or not so good thing? In the context of its formalization, it's happening through announcement, it's happening through the formal process of it. It's happening because from what I understood, this is not a formal process. Am I correct in Srikanth sir? Or whoever wants to answer?
Yeah, right now what we are doing is obviously not formal, right? We are doing it informally. What we are trying to showcase is what can be done if it is implemented in this manner. And there's nobody on earth or no law that can prevent us from doing something that is good for the city or for the society. But I think your question is, if this is working, should we just go with this, right? As I said earlier, this is an experiment that we are trying to see whether we can make the system work. But two things that we currently do not have. One, which is power, and second, which is the money to be spent. So for solving some, let's say, issues or getting projects accelerated and making these fundamental changes, I think this is good to go. But for me, the bigger thing is every ward gets anywhere from 100 crores to 200 or even 250 crores over a 5-year period. Today, bulk of that money gets siphoned off by the councillor along with the in cahoots with the MLA and all the other chelas. And that is one of the fundamental reasons why our civic infrastructure is in such a terrible mess. If that has to be set right, we have to ensure that this 100, 200, 250 crores is spent properly. And that can be done. And for that, citizen participation is very important through the area sabhas. So we need good people who get elected as corporators or councillors who can engage with area sabhas, even if they are informal in nature, and take the inputs from them and then get those projects that are needed by the citizens approved in the council and work towards implementation of that. And that too with integrity, with full accountability. But the moment a lot of citizens get involved, right, transparency is there, automatically accountability, quality of work, all of those things start coming in and corruption starts reducing. So that is the system that I would like to implement. Today, what we are showing you is a small sample of what we can do if we constitute this. What is the power of people coming together? What is the power of area sabhas? This power can be multiplied manifold with literally getting into power and having the access to the resources. I think that's the key difference between what we are doing now and what ultimately needs to be done.
No, what I wanted to understand, so no, this is wonderful, and I think I understand this. But these are individual examples, success stories. If you want to kind of convert this institutionally and scale it up, where and also formalize in the process, because I'm not saying that formal thing is important. What I'm trying to say is this, that we do have fair amount of success stories. I think when things happen informally, and that is the whole role of the civil society. I think how it works. What I'm trying to kind of say is that these are individual examples.
I will want to come in there, Kirtibhai. These are not individual examples. This is happening under the aegis of Bengaluru Navanirmana Party. It's happening in a systematic manner. These are just a few examples. We have a lot more area sabha members and teams across. As we speak, we are building up more and more teams. These are just samples of work, and of course, some of our best leaders who have done some great work. But we are replicating this in a systematic, institutionalized, professional manner, ward by ward, assembly constituency by assembly constituency, and across the city. It will take time because we have 225 wards, but these are not individual or sporadic or done in a, let's say, at their local. Of course, it's done at the local levels, but all of this is being done with a proper system put in place and with a proper mechanism that's being done under the aegis of BNP. Okay. And once we have these people, and all these people that you're seeing here, they're all going to contest as councillors or corporators. And if they get elected, all of this will be done officially in an official platform with the official mechanism and with funds available for the ward level allocation that is there, and with the power that the councillor enjoys to get these things implemented.
So are you saying that this particular examples or success stories or thing that has happened will be seen or projected as work of the area Sabha?
Yes.
This
Oh,
is
these
what
are all things that we have done. For example, Aparna gave that example, right? Aparna joined our team, and then we together, we formed an area Sabha team. We attended ward committee meetings. It was done in a very systematic manner. In fact, I personally was present in that meeting when she brought in 15-20 people from her apartment complex into that meeting. The AE was completely rattled. The officials were completely rattled, right? And they were forced to act. And if she had gone as an individual and asked, nothing would have happened. So the point I'm making is this is happening under the aegis of BNP in a very systematic, professional, I wouldn't say formal way right now because we are not in power. It's informal, but it's very professional and it's systematic. And once we have some of our corporators, it will be done in a formal way also, with formal constitution of ward committees, area sabhas, involvement of citizens. That's what we are looking to do.
I'm sorry, I'll just continuing to ask question, but just last one that's quick. Like say for instance, if newspapers or the media takes, I think, cognizance of what has happened, how would it report? Would that be reported as success story or example of participation or entrepreneurship of an individual or work of your political party? How is it reported? How does newspaper talk about this? If TV is taking care of it, reporting it, how does it report? Does it give credit to your party? Does it say that your party got this done? How does it get reported? How does it reach out to community?
Right now, whatever issues we are resolving, we sort of share it to the media, and the media does carry articles and gives us credit, right? But the media doesn't report it as a movement or anything of that sort. Ultimately, what we have to understand is this is an unglamorous subject, right? It doesn't get TRPs for them. It doesn't get readership for them. What gets readership is, we all know, right? All the other kinds of issues. So till the time the media doesn't see any TRP in this, they are not going to cover this in a larger scale. And in a way, I would say, right, the attendance in this event is symptomatic of that. Even people, right, they don't find these as glamorous topics, right? You talk about some, let's say, a religious issue or a caste-based issue or something that happens remotely, which sort of, jolts you, in terms of the crime that is committed. We get, heavily involved in that, debate with one another, argue with one another. We take sides, even though it doesn't impact us on a day-to-day basis. When it comes to local issues, it's probably human psyche or human behavior. They don't really want to engage in these things. And if they don't engage in these things, the media has no interest in carrying this, because ultimately the media is interested only in TRPs. Having said that, I should say that we are very thankful to the local media. We keep reporting many of these things that we do. They at least consistently carry it in whatever little way they can. So they've been supportive of that. For this to turn into a large scale movement, we'll have to see there is something else that needs to happen over a period of time. This probably has to become a mass movement for it to attract that kind of eyeballs from the people, and hence the coverage from the media as well. Till that time, we will keep continue to do the work at the grassroots level. We'll keep continue to build up the body of work. We'll keep continue to accumulate all that we are doing, and we will keep communicating whatever. And then at some point, I'm very confident that this will become a large citizens movement, which automatically the media will want to cover, and people will also want to engage.
I'd just like to come in here. I don't think you can call this a formal area sabha, whatever you're talking about, because it's just a group of individuals. As per the law,
This
an
is
area
Kathyayini, I said,
sabha.
no,
I'll
Kathyayini, I
just
said it's
complete.
informal.
I'll just
I said it's
complete.
informal. I said it's
Yes,
informal
but
only.
you're using the term area sabha, which has a legal
Yeah.
connotation also.
Sure.
So area sabha has to consist of every voter in that polling booth area, or the whatever is defined as the area. So to call your informal group area sabha, it is not strictly correct. I would say it's just an informal. It's like any other RWA, and unless every voter of that area is involved in the decision making. I don't know what legitimacy there can be for the decisions that your individual members are taking. So it has to be decided in a formal way only through the area sabha as defined in the law. Only then it becomes formal and acceptable also as an institutional mechanism. So, and also because all the examples that I saw are very harmless things. Even officials will not have a problem clearing a back spot or painting up a wall. When it comes to real class conflicts in a ward or in an area, then you will really see how difficult it is to come to a consensus on any decision. So there's still a long way to go. Whether, if the polling booth area consists of an elite group as well as a poor group, how will they sort out the issues of street vendors? How will they sort out the issues of slums and so on? Those issues you have not been able to tackle so far because you have dealt with only elite problems of very simple nature. So I think a lot more experience needs to be gathered in really solving very, class-based divisions and other kinds of really divisive kind of issues. Whatever you all have done is very easy to solve.
Srikanth,
That's all I wanted to share.
Sorry, one more question. I think what I'm trying to understand is this.
Can I respond to that quickly, Kirti Bhai, the question that she asked? So first of all, Mrs. Kathyayini, I never said it's formal. I said it's informal, right? These are informal area sabhas. They don't have any legal standing. And if anybody, in fact, I'll be very happy if somebody wants to file a case against us for using a term area sabha, it will only give it publicity. I honestly don't care what term I use for that. The things that you're talking of are very easy to solve. Sorry, Mrs. Kathyayini, I beg to disagree with that. There are issues which have been running for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. People have been trying to solve. Roads not being laid. Skywalk in front of my apartment, a skywalk that was stalled for almost 2 years. Road on both sides of the road dug up. These are all not trivial problems. Yes, some garbage clearance here and there, I agree. That might not be a great issue to resolve. But to trivialize it by saying that we are solving only easy problems, sorry, I beg to completely disagree with you on that. We have solved some problems. Aparna Chandar was talking of a road that was not laid, which was causing heavy inconvenience for their people, and which was solved through the engagement of the area sabha. A skywalk where it's not a trivial issue. I'm talking of a 17-year-old girl who lost her life. And even after the loss of that life, the MLA and the corporator were not willing to get that done. Our area sabha team, including, I personally got involved. We actually got it done. Of course, it needed to have a good official as a nodal officer. Without that, it wouldn't have happened. But the point I'm making is, if there is a good corporator and if there is a committed area sabha team, we can solve for these problems, and these are not trivial problems to be solved. Number one. Second, I'm not saying that we are here to solve any and every problem. I always told my team there are different types of problems. There are some that are easily solvable. There are some that are solvable with a lot of effort. There are some that will be immediately solvable. There are some that will take some time, and there are others that will take a lot of time. But on the street vendor thing, just to give you this perspective, Mrs. Kathyayini, our area sabha is not just about elite. There is a slum next door to me. There is two representatives from there who are technically part of the informal area sabha, right? We represent them in Anganwadis to get books for their children. We represent them on livelihood programs, and we do all of that as well. And tomorrow there doesn't need to be a conflict, as in there could be some conflicts, and that's where the counselor needs to play a role to sit with them and help resolve that. We are not here to just take a decision on the basis of a majority and start evicting street vendors. In Kagadasapura area, where there is a place where there is a street vending happening, in an apartment called Purva Seasons, we got engaged citizens coming out. We actually engaged with the vendors. We engaged with the health inspector. We ensured that that street vending that was done, it was done in a proper space demarcated for them, ensuring that they don't put out any garbage, ensuring that they do not encroach the rights of the pedestrians. giving them space to work. And it's a problem that has been solved through collaborative efforts of the elite, a premium apartment called Purva Seasons and the residents living there, along with the street vendors who come from the downtrodden area of the society. So every problem ultimately is resolvable if people come together. And the class divide is something which is a political makeup. I've worked on the ground on many issues. The left-leaning people think that, oh, the elite people don't care. The elite people think that, oh, the slum people and all, there's always this freebie politics that goes on. When people engage with one another, when the street vendor engages with the elite resident in Purva Seasons, when the slum resident engages with the Brigade Paramount apartment that I live in, we are able to understand each other. We are able to understand each other's issues. We are able to empathize with one another. And we are able to collectively evolve a system that works in all our best interests, in our collective best interests. So I would say three things. These area sabhas are informal. I don't care. As long as they are delivering the results, that's all that matters to me. Second, this is not about elite versus the downtrodden or anything. If we are able to come together and work together, all problems are absolutely resolvable. And third, some issues that we have solved are trivial in nature, but many issues we have resolved. These are all very important issues. They've been stuck in the system for a long time due to apathy, incompetence, corruption, and indifference. We have gotten in and solved those also. And that's what gives me the confidence that even if a few of us get into power in those areas, we will be able to solve for a lot of those problems as well. And I thought I'll just quickly respond to those points because Mrs. Kathyayini, with all due respect, sometimes what happens is sitting from where one is sitting, people are not able to see what we are doing. And hence, I don't want this to be either trivialized or just brushed aside saying that, oh, the corporator is not there, so it's easy to solve, or these are problems anyway could be solved. If these problems were solvable and could have been solved, right, the city would have become a beautiful city long back, but it is not. So I just wanted to leave that behind as a concept.
Thank you for the explanation. It helps to understand better your work. I do appreciate what you've done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I don't know if there are any other questions, but I want to ask two questions, very specific questions. And these questions I want to ask in the context of a larger political party in this country. BJP says that when an election takes place in 2 months' time, NDA and BJP would score 400 seats. They will win. I want to ask this question, Srikanth Saab, that if election takes place in the next 3 months in Bangalore Municipal Corporation, how many seats your party will win? This is one. And secondly, what constitutes a political social capital for your party? How are you making, because ultimately, if you don't have social political capital, you won't be able to encash it. It will not kind of convert into some kind of power at some stage. So my second question is, what is the mechanism by which your efforts and the work that your informal organization, your party workers, your people are doing, when and how will we get converted into social capital so that when election comes, it gets converted into eventually votes and eventually power? So my first question is, if election takes place after 3 months, how many seats you will win?
Yeah, I'll answer it in 3 parts, Kirtibhai. Thanks for asking that question. I do keep getting getting asked these questions, and it's a very important existential question for BNP as a party and for many of our leaders also, right? So number one, BJP can win 400 Lok Sabha seats, not a problem. What we have to understand is people vote very differently in different elections. Delhi is a standard example, right? Assembly elections, Aam Aadmi Party sweeps that assembly election. Lok Sabha election, BJP sweeps that, right? So that goes to show very clearly that people are very discerning from that perspective and they're able to make the distinction in their mind. Now coming to the questions, how many wards will we win? I wish I had a crystal ball into which I can gaze and say that we will win this much. But all I can say is in that first election, given that we are a fledgling party, there are 225 wards. My target, and this is an open thing that I've told in various fora, my first target is to win about 25 wards.
How
That's
many?
about 10%, 25 wards, 10% of the wards. That itself is not an easy task. It would have been relatively easier if reservation was not very significant or was very much along the lines of what is there in the Lok Sabha and MLA elections. In municipal elections, reservation cuts into many different categories: OBC A, OBC B, OBC A women, OBC B women. Finding the right candidates in the right wards is a complicated thing. So for us, I'm very confident that in the first election we can win about 5 to 10 wards. That's my confidence. We'll have to see how that pans out. But I think, and I'll shortly explain to you why I'm confident of winning 5 to 10 wards. And that you talked about the right word, right? Political and social capital. You're absolutely right. Ultimately, we need to have people voting for us, supporting us on the basis of some political and social capital, right? And all that I can say right now is that the work that we are doing and the way we are going about doing it is appealing to a big segment of the population which is living in the city, which is the urban middle class. The problem with this urban middle class is they've been apathetic, they have not, and many of them have not voted in the BBMP elections or in the municipal elections. Our message is appealing and resonating with this urban middle class. So we are going after them with this message. We have created teams in a few wards. Right now I don't want to spread ourselves thin by going across the country. We have created teams in about 30, 40 wards. And through these teams, we are taking the message to more and more people through these area sabhas. We are telling them that there's a political party, vote for us during the BBMP election. We are building up a strong base of cadre volunteers who have promised their support, not just in voting for us, but also in going and doing campaigns for us. I believe the municipal elections are at the ward level. It will be one more due to the cadre that we build, the local work that we do, and the local campaigns that we run, which is what we are focusing on. And with the frustration that people have in this city about the state of civic infrastructure, about what has happened, people are looking for a change. And when they see somebody like us coming and they see the quality of the people that they see, people are very welcoming of us. And many people who not even remotely touch politics with a barge pole are actively coming out in support of BNP, campaigning for us, spreading the message. And that's truly amazing from our perspective. That is our political and social capital, which we want to leverage, with which my target is still to win 25 wards in the first election, but confident of winning at least 5 to 10, which will give us a base, which will help us build a body of work. And with that, I would like us to make a much, much stronger, bigger, and harder push in the next election that comes 5 years. That's my answer to your question, Keith. Back over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anything else anyone else wanted to ask? I'm sorry I asked too many questions, but if not, it's already 7:50, and we could then wind this up with. Does any of the panelists want to add to what Srikanth Sahab has said? Is there any other question in the question box which has not been answered? If so, then I think we could wind it up. Who is Chitakshi, is there any question which has not been answered? Okay. Then I think thank you, Srikanth Sahab. Thank you very much, Sowmya ji, Kathyayini ji, Aparna ji, Lalita ji, and everyone. Thank you very much.
And Poongothai as well. So,
very,
yeah.
very useful, and I think we learned a lot. And we look forward to, I think, this is just the beginning, just the first. There are many questions to be answered and asked. And we would do this, I'm continuous to hold lots of confidence in this process, and I'm hugely impressed with what is happening. And we want to know more and understand more, I think, as we get along. So we look forward to the second event when it takes place. And thank you very much for everyone's
Thank you.
contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks BNP and thanks Kirti ji for giving me this opportunity also. Thanks,
Katyayani. Thanks, Kirti. Bye.
Well, thank you, sir. We look forward to the second event as when it takes place. Thank you.